Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, brought to you by Bet365. It's going to be a fun show today, and you can probably tell that by the title, which is Harman grades quads trade proposals. It's that time of the season. We're going to be going over some trade proposals, and then we're going to ask the chat as well to give us their own. But before that, I want to tell everybody about our Super Chat charity sponsor this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation. You want to make sure your question or comment gets on the show, your trade proposal gets on the show. Hit us with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Harm, you had Monday off. Irf was in here yesterday. Honestly, Irf and I had a lot of fun. Irf and I had a really, really good episode. We talked about Willander. We've got some stuff to talk about with Willander again. But how was your weekend?
It was really good. I've been grinding away at a couple of Canucks deep dives that I'm excited to put together. One of them is on Tom Willander. Whenever he signs, I'm going to drop an article giving Canucks fans a deep dive into what exactly they should expect. I spent a ton of time just poring over game film from him in the NCAA, and I'm excited to put that together. And then for tomorrow, I should have a deep dive into Elias Pettersson's season and breaking down the sentiment, of course, and breaking down why exactly he mysteriously fell off production-wise this year.
I'm looking forward to both of those pieces. It's going to be a lot of fun to dive into those. I needed to get into this right away. Nikita Tolopilo gets his first win. Been calling for it for months. Get this guy in. Again, said earlier in the season, I think he's better than Shelovs. You get at least he's level with Shelovs. And when Shelovs was going in, you couldn't play Shelovs. Had to get to Tolopilo a start. Would have been really nice if they got a look at him earlier in the season, but Tolopilo goes in, basically gets a shutout. Like, let's be honest here. That was a perfect shot from Macklin Celebrini. Other than that, Tolopilo's perfect. Basically a shutout in my books.
Yeah, it was impressive too. The first shot he faced was almost 8 minutes in. So imagine you're making your NHL debut as a goaltender, and for the first 7 minutes, you don't even touch the puck. Imagine the nerves, right? And the first shot he faced was a legit dangerous chance after Marcus Pettersson turned it over. So that was really nice to see. As you alluded to, the Celebrini goal was just disgusting. Him hunting the corner there, there's no chance. No goaltender could have realistically stopped that. And then to me, the standout was probably the third period slot save he made on Tyler Toffoli. Prime goal scorer in that type of spot usually doesn't miss his mark, and Tolopilo was out confidently, made the save, and that was also the sequence that immediately led to Blueger getting a breakaway at the other end of the rink. And speaking of goaltending, what a funny twist of events that Georgiev played out of his mind last night.
Honestly, you can't write a better script. Georgiev of all goalies. And you know what was funny? I was waiting because Georgiev's always been a bit of a hothead, right? Like I'm not misremembering that. There was a sequence there. I think it was Garland that like landed on top of Georgiev's leg, and I was like, "Oh, Garland's about to eat a glove to the face or eat a blocker right to the face for sure." And Georgiev just kind of helped him off him and like led him away, and I was like, "Wow, we're seeing good goaltending from Georgiev. We're seeing him keep his cool." Are we sure that was Alex Georgiev in net last night? That was something that crossed my mind. But I'm glad you brought him up because I had that in my notes that he just was nice to Garland there.
It's funny, Avs fans called him Fjorgiev because he always gave up at least 4. He would have single-handedly ruined the Avs playoff chances this year. Good for Chris McFarland for upgrading the goaltending position.
He already was sewering their chances like when the trade was made, and I think they realized that wasn't going to stop any point. Speaking of trades, no, not yet. We're going to get to it a little bit after. Did you have anything else in San Jose you want to say before we get in this Willander update?
A couple things. DPD continues to impress me. Third period, just the way he was wheeling pucks out of the zone, making outlet passes, playing a little bit more minutes, playing with Quinn Hughes. I thought he looked a lot more comfortable in that spot than Mancini did when he got the opportunity there about a week ago. So love to see that. Linus Karlsson, he's really effective as net front presence, even outside of the goal. You could see on the second unit power play just how many chances he was able to create, whether it was off rebounds or just finding ways to get open. I like the skill that he has in small areas. high traffic areas. He's gotten quicker since over the last couple of years, which is massive because I remember previously looking at him and going, his foot speed is a liability at the NHL level, whereas now skating is not going to be a strength. It's still probably the weakest part of his game, but he at least isn't a liability in that regard. And when you combine that with how heavy and effective he is winning battles along the boards, reliable defensive presence, to me, he should be a legit candidate to play on the fourth line next year.
Okay, I was just going to ask you that. We've had these nice stories about Linus Karlsson before. Oh, he played a playoff game. Awesome. Yeah, he's playing on Elias Pettersson's wing when he gets called up. Great. But he's always looked out of place. He hasn't looked out of place down the stretch, and that was going to be what I asked you is, I know he's 25, and I thought you were going to tell me that I'm dreaming, but I was going to ask you, do you think there's a world where Linus Karlsson just comes in next year and is a really solid bottom six winger who can score on a third or fourth line? Because I'm starting to lean towards yes, because I think the things that he's good at are things that are really hard to teach or to learn, and the things that he struggles with, you just said it, skating. Go get a skating coach. Go hook him up with Bo Horvat's skating coach. I know it's not that easy, but we have seen legitimate improvements in that part of his game, and I'm starting to think this guy might be becoming a complete player right before our eyes.
Yeah, I don't think he'll ever be someone you want in your top 9, but in a fourth line role or even as a 13th forward, absolutely he should be in that conversation to win a depth forward job. The only sort of knock against him would be maybe if when you're trying to construct your fourth line, maybe you want specialists in the sense that you want a PK guy in that spot. You want somebody that has more of a physical, heavy hitting type of identity to their game, which Karlsson doesn't have. Despite he's a bigger body, but he's not laying guys out on the forecheck. So maybe he doesn't add value in those couple of capacities. But every other part of his game, he's reliable. He again wins board battles. He's got some net front skill. He could legit, and maybe I'm getting a little bit too ahead of myself. You wouldn't ideally want him in the spot, but second unit power play hasn't looked out of place.
I love it. I was gonna say put him there, put him in front of the net and see what he can do. I love it. I love his hands in tight. I really like him. This isn't officially a Linus Karlsson pro Linus Karlsson podcast. Do you remember when I absolutely yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, in the fall, you were as soon as I brought up Linus Karlsson to training camp as he's looked decent, he's still in the conversation to make the team. You just poo-pooed all over that idea. The Linus Karlsson slander was really tough. I hope none of his friends or family were listening.
I was legitimately so mean to Linus Karlsson, and honestly, though. Come on. It was training camp. There was a lot of stuff to talk about. And at the end of the day, I was still right. And that's all that matters. Linus Karlsson didn't make the team.
You were...
What did I say? I said Linus Karlsson's not going to make the team. He
Well,
sucked.
my prediction wasn't, and again, not to relitigate this months later, but at the time I kept banging the drum that I'm not predicting he's going to make the team, but you can't talk about him like he's already been cut.
And I said, yes, you can. And I will. Pro Linus Karlsson from this day forward. Okay. On San Jose, was there anything else in my notes? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think I had anything else. Pius Suter's great. Pius Suter's gonna get paid a lot of money this offseason. I don't know. I don't have much more. Do you want to get to the
on Suter? Yeah. I'm increasingly worried that he's gonna price himself out of here.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And there's a line, right? As much as I like Suter as a player, there's going to be a point where the cap hit figure just isn't going to make sense.
And what is that number? What's the walkaway number for the Canucks? I did this over at
I would not go any higher than a flat 4.
Oh, interesting.
Even 4 million is it's a little bit out of my comfort zone. I'd prefer 3.5. I could stretch and do a 4, but if it's over 4, I'd walk if
we'll do a predictions show at some point where we predict what each guy's gonna get on the open market. But I have Suter at like 4 years, 4.5 or 5 million. And I think
Yeah,
it's
I
too
wouldn't
much.
sign that.
But like that's what he's gonna get on the open market, I think. So it'll be
And that's
interesting.
fine. It's the Canucks don't have enough cap flexibility to overpay to keep their own guys. Like they're just not a good enough team to justify that. When you look at how much game-breaking offensive skill they need up front, how are you going to add that if you're going to overpay Suter, if you're going to overpay Besser potentially? And again, if you can get that cap hit in the flat 4 million range, then sure, absolutely. He does so many things well. We know how valuable he's been to the team this year. Absolutely, you consider that. But if it gets to 4.5, 5 million, personally, I'd walk away.
Okay. Ready for Willander?
Yeah.
Okay, so Willander's done playing and he hasn't signed yet. That was weird. That's what we talked about yesterday, and Irfan Gafar, had a few things to say about it. And one thing that he said was it's a little strange that it hasn't been for a lack of trying from the Canucks. And this is basically a personal decision for Tom Willander to not come to the Canucks just yet. And again, there's 2 games left. He doesn't sound like he really wants to play in the AHL, which I think is an interesting wrinkle in all of this that we didn't know before. And hey, I've been saying for a while, put this guy on the third pairing, just let him play, figure it out. He'll play on the PK. He can do it. No problem. Obviously he agrees with me. It is a little strange that he didn't immediately sign, obviously, but there's 2 games left in the season. If he doesn't want to play in the AHL, this makes a little more sense, I suppose. But we did see a report last night from Daily Faceoff's Frank Saravelli, who said he's hearing that the Canucks and Tom Willander have an agreement in place on an ELC that begins in the 2025-26 season. So an agreement, but not going to burn a year. It's going to be a full season starting in 2025. 26. Not entirely clear when the deal will be announced, but he's turning pro. Willander is back on campus finishing out the semester. Then there was reporting, Steve Ewan was on it, Thomas Drance was on it, about denials from both sides here, from the Canucks and from Willander's agent, or Willander's camp, I think was the term used. Or no, it was Willander's agent. No, not agent. Family advisor. Advisor. There it is. Not agent. Very clear. That just denials of that report. So Frank puts out an amendment and he says it was premature to say that the 2 sides have an agreement in place tonight. However, sources are very confident that this will end with an agreement that begins in the 2025-26 season. So again, we don't have a ton of clarity, but I mean, that makes sense. Like, why would Willander want to go back for a 3rd year of school, right? Because at that point, I don't know, because then if you want to stay for your 4th year, you really want to miss 2 years that you could be playing pro hockey to finish out your degree and then become a college free agent. I guess he could do that, but I think that would just be a weird way for this to go. And I could totally see him doing a 2025-26 thing, especially if he doesn't want to play in the AHL. Just saying, yeah, I'll just sign next year.
Well, he has nothing left to accomplish at the college level, to be totally honest with you. Watching all the tape of him at BU, he is so polished. He is so ready for the pro game. It wouldn't make any sense for his personal development and his growth to go back for a 3rd year in the NCAA. Now, it's been widely reported that if and when this does happen, it would begin, as you alluded to, next year, the ELC, which would still leave the door open, by the way, for him to sign an amateur tryout offer and play with Abbotsford down the stretch this year. But this is also why I'm personally not too worried about this, the hang up, because the difference is with, let's say, Zeev Buhm in Minnesota or some of these other NCAA prospects that have signed. There's been that urgency. The reason it's gotten done right away is because there's a quicker time constraint to get the guy signed, have the ELC begin this year, and potentially play NHL games this year and burn that first year of the ELC. Whereas if both sides agree that there's no rush to have the ELC begin this season, then if the 2 sides are haggling over, let's say, bonuses, or whatever the potential disagreement is at this point in time, there's time to wait still. There isn't that same level of pressure and that same deadline as there are for other NCAA prospects that are looking to get in right away to NHL lineups this year. So with all that in mind, I'm not too alarmed or too worried that this is dragged out a little bit longer than we all maybe expected.
I agree with you. But he's part of my trade proposals. I'll just say that he is part of the
Hot
trade
take.
proposals. Yeah. Oh, someone else in the chat said it too. Those signing rights are getting traded this summer. Like, okay, and I will say this, yeah, it's not weird. But if, and you just said that he could sign an ATO, guess what? He hasn't yet. If it's clear that this guy doesn't want to play in the AHL, does that not set off a little bit, like some red flags for you?
Yeah, but
in
what
training
indicate?
camp,
Do we clearly know that he's saying, "Oh, I don't want to play in the AHL"? Like, has anyone reported that?
Jacob, did Irf mention that yesterday or no?
Sorry, did he mention that Willander did not want to play in the AHL?
Yeah, that he didn't want to play in the AHL?
Yes, I think he said that he got the sense that Willander was not interested in playing in the AHL.
Okay, so not a hard and fast, like, yeah, he's never doing this. But I'm just saying, like, okay, we have that okay, Irf gets the sense that Willander doesn't want to play in the AHL. We also find out he hasn't signed an ATO yet. He could have done that already. Hasn't done that yet. Okay? If he doesn't sign an ATO and it becomes pretty clear that this guy doesn't want to play in the AHL, does that not set off some red flags for you going into next season where really, like, he's going to be competing for a third pairing job against Victor Mancini?
Not really, to be totally honest with you, because training camp will reveal it all. He's not going to be entitled to an NHL spot just because he believes he deserves it. He's going to have to go out and perform, and if he performs it, the job is his, and if he doesn't, he'll be sent down to the AHL.
Yep.
So he doesn't really have a say in that matter.
Yep.
Now, if it becomes a scenario where come September, he doesn't look NHL ready in training camp and preseason, you're looking to send him down, and this is like a David Juracek situation where the player then makes us think about it when it's clear he could use some AHL seasoning, then yeah, that's a red flag. But we're making a lot of assumptions to go down that road.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say is that if it becomes one of those situations where it's just a player who says like, no, I'm an NHL player, I want to play in the NHL and I'm not going to the AHL. Like that's what I'm talking about here. And that's not what it means when you don't sign an ATO to go play in Abbotsford. I just think it's weird that he's not playing in Abbotsford. I'll just say that.
Well, there's still time.
Yeah, there is still time. I'd love to see it. I will say that as well. I really want to see him play AHL games. I think it can't hurt him. It can't hurt his chances of making the team next year if he goes and plays in the AHL playoffs.
And if you're the Canucks and you're trying to pitch this to his camp, you tell him, hey, this is a perfect opportunity to get accustomed to the pro game. It's going to fast track your development. You're going to play big minutes.
Yeah.
You're going to get used to the increased pace, the increased physicality. And if you perform well in this environment, this is only going to increase your odds of making the NHL out of training camp next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And it's far from over just yet. So let's get to some trade proposals. Before that, though, I want to tell everybody about Greta. Greta Bar YVR, the home of our electric watch parties. Greta's a great spot for all games, home and away. Those can be baseball games, too. They've got those on as well. The street food menu, arcade games, and the drinks, it's bound to be a good time. Tickets are available now. Oh, no, they're not. That's an old read. Whoops. Tickets were available for our watch party, which was a lot of fun. But like I said, even if we're not there, you certainly should be. Ton of fun over at Greta Bar YVR. 50 West Cordova Street is the address. All right. Let's get some trade proposals. Let's do it. So what we're going to do, and in anyone else, Jacob, you can start filing them now, folks. Give us 2 trade proposals, not one. Just give us 2 trade proposals, and we will pick which one is more realistic of the 2. Now, I've come up with a bunch of trade proposals, and Harman is going to pick one of the 2 and say which one of these is more realistic, and we'll workshop it. We'll workshop them, and we'll work through them. Now, I said this on yesterday's show, so I'll remind everybody, please don't freak out if you see a player you like in these trade proposals. This is what's going to happen. If the Canucks want to get better and they want to improve at center, that's not very easy to do. They're going to have to give up some stuff that you probably don't want to give up in a perfect world. But these have different vibes to them. Like a lot of them are win now because you want to win and be really competitive next season with Quinn Hughes. So keep that in mind when you're looking at these. Harman, let's begin. I've got one for you right off the hop. We're going for the hometown kid, Matt Barzal, right off the top. Okay. So I've got one for you. Okay. We've got Lekkerimäki, Elias Pettersson, a first-round pick and a second-round pick to get Matt Barzal, or Lekkerimäki, Tom Willander, a first and a fourth. Which one of those is more realistic? Gets the job done.
So the key context here is the Isles, and I will give you an answer on which one is maybe more realistic. But key context here is you'd probably need to have a scenario where Lou Lamoriello is out as GM, which it actually sounds like he might be back as GM. So first of all, that if Lou Lamoriello is back right away, it's a no-go. You could offer whatever you want. Even in a retool or rebuild environment, Barzal's young enough that they would look to build around him. He's their best player. So that's important context. But if they are for whatever reason going to blow it all up, you're still going to have to overpay for him, realistically.
Mm-hmm. I tried to reflect that in these prices. Do you know if
they're
coming up high enough?
Yeah, no, and I was going to say it'd probably be the second one, involving Lekkerimäki, Tom Willander, first and a fourth, which is a ton to give up, obviously. It's the equivalent of 3 first-round picks and a fourth. But that's a kind of overpayment it's kind of going to take if you want to land a player of Barzal's caliber, because guess how long the line is going to be of suitors for Barzal if he's ever made available.
That's a really good point. And it's gonna get expensive. It's gonna get really pricey. Now, we'll park Barzal because he comes up later. Because to close this segment out, I'll hint at it. I've got one that involves Matt Barzal and Bo Horvat coming back to Vancouver. So we'll get to that later. But let's continue. Mason McTavish. Now, this is a guy that we've talked about. Again, the idea of offer sheeting him was thrown around for a bit, but then we kind of realized, the Canucks would have to go trade for some of their assets if they're going to offer anything over $4.5 million, and that's probably not going to happen. So the Canucks can't offer sheet Mason McTavish, but what do we have here? Okay, I like this. We've got Willander, a 2025 second, and a 2026 second, or Elias Pettersson, second-round pick, and a third-round pick.
Yeah, it would have to be the first one, Willander in 2 seconds. But even then, I'll be honest, the idea of targeting McTavish sounded a lot more appealing before he sort of picked things up in the second half. Like just looking at the numbers, he was point per game down the stretch. Last 25 games, 24 points in 25 games. Finishing strong like that, I think the odds of being able to pry McTavish out of Anaheim are a lot lower than they may have been before that explosion.
And I'll give you another reason, as people are getting their trade proposals in, which I like to see, but I'll give you another reason that McTavish kind of scares me a little bit as a target, and that's just because he's 22, and I know he has a high ceiling, but like, I'm thinking for next season, if you're making a trade, you want a guy who's pretty close to his ceiling already. And again, a high ceiling player, like a really good top 6 player that you know is going to make a big, big impact on your lineup. And I'm not saying McTavish isn't that. I'm just saying that he isn't necessarily a surefire bet to be that next season, and that I'd be a little worried about backing up the Brinks trucks to unload for Mason McTavish here. So
I get what you're saying, but the counter argument would be, well, if you're going to trade some of your deep prospects, quality pieces here, draft picks, then ideally you'd want to do it for a young player that can be productive for you for a really long time.
You need a sweet spot of can make an impact next season, because let's not forget,
he's already a 50-point player.
Yeah.
So, like, I think he can be a decent second-line center. If you were leaning on him to be a 1C, then I'd be like, okay, but we're talking about a guy who had 51 points in 74 games this year, 42 points in 64 games the year prior. He's going to have another summer of development. Plus, how much could he pop and break out away from Greg Cronin in Anaheim, where a lot of the young forwards there have stalled?
That's interesting.
Like,
That's really interesting, actually.
I think, again, I think it's a bit of a long shot. I mean, we've kind of already seen the breakout down the stretch, right? Those 24 points in the last 25 games. If you had a fresh start in Vancouver, which again, I don't know how willing the Ducks would be to part with him at this stage, but I wouldn't be surprised if he broke out and had a lot more than 50 points next season.
All right. I like it. I still stand by it though, that I do want a little more surefire bet to be a real impact player next year. Next year's the Quinn Hughes year, right? Like that's a really important one to make Quinn stay. We'll see.
Fair, but I don't think either of those trade proposals were close anyway. So I think it's both sides. Like if that's your stance, then I mean you weren't really close with your trade proposal anyway. It probably doesn't make sense for other side.
Okay, I got another player here for you. Josh Norris. Again. Wasn't there some rumblings that Josh Norris might be traded again? Am I just making that up? I'm not sure if I remember where I saw that, but I don't know. I saw something about that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure I saw anything like that.
Okay, hold on.
While you look, I just want to remind the chat. Okay, if you're going to give us these trade proposals, the way we're doing this is we want you to give us two different options so the guys can say which one's more realistic, right? So I've seen some really good stuff in there, Cole Sillinger, Kent Johnson, like some really interesting names, but give us two different options. So if you want the Canucks to trade for Cole Sillinger and Kent Johnson, you got to say, okay, offer one is these players and picks, offer two is these other players and picks. All right. If you do that, we'll get them pumped into the chat, and when the guys are done, they'll start reading your responses.
Josh Norris ever going to play a game for the Sabres? He's played 3 games so far.
Well, I was going to say that's precisely why I wouldn't want to trade for Norris.
Is it the shoulder again?
I don't know for certain, but
he had shoulder surgery.
I worry that he's made of glass at this point, to be totally honest with you.
All right, well, there goes that trade proposal because I think that's just too much for him. I had Lekkermacky in a first-round pick here. Or
no.
Yeah, okay. We'll move on from Josh Norris. Maybe that one wasn't the best. Now I've got Bo Horvat alone. Give me this one. Give me Bo Horvat alone. Now, Bo Horvat alone. I'm going to go back to a similar package that we were talking about for Matt Barzal for Bo Horvat alone. He could be a really good 2C. Didn't he lead the Islanders in goals this year? Really bad Islanders team. He was leading them in goals. Right?
No. But he's close. Anders Lee's leading them with 29.
Damn.
Bo's got 28.
Come on, Bo. Figure it out over the next couple of games, or one game, I don't know how many they have left, and make sure I'm right by the time people listen to this on Friday. Bo Horvat, though, in all seriousness, I know, you want to talk about trading the wrong guy. I think the Canucks probably regret letting go of Bo Horvat, even though that contract isn't spectacular. Bo the person, what he's going to do for your team. He's going to make the power play so much better than it has been. Really, the power play has been missing Bo Horvat since Bo Horvat left. And the power play needed someone like Bo Horvat in that bumper spot. And he was so good at it. And again, I know it's pie in the sky to talk about bringing Bo back. Just wait till you hear my next one where it's Barzal and Bo coming back. But Bo Horvat, I've got this one for Bo Horvat, okay? We're going to go back to Lekkermacky, Elias Pettersson, a first and a fourth. Lekkermacky, Tom Olander, and just a fourth for Bo Horvat.
Did you write those down?
No, that's just off the dome. That's me workshopping the Barzal one.
Okay, so sorry, say that again.
Okay, I'm going to say it again, okay? And I'll put it in our chat too. You got Lekkermacky, Elias Pettersson, and a 4th-round pick. Or no, what did I say? No, excuse me. Lekkermacky, Elias Pettersson, a 2nd-round pick. Okay, you got that? That's one trade proposal.
Yeah, okay.
Second one, Lekkermacky, Tom Olander, and a 4th-round pick. Which one's more realistic to getting it done? Which one do you like for the Canucks? Give me your reaction.
Either of them might be close if the Isles have their eye on their future. but also I don't love either trade from a Canucks perspective, if I'm being totally honest with you.
Okay, but who are you gonna go get, man? Like what are they gonna do? They need a center. What are they gonna do? And you can't find a better fit than Bo Horvat. You can't. Name him if you can.
We've been through this with Bo before. He's a good player, but the age range, the contract, I don't love it. I don't love it, especially when you're talking about potentially giving up like
They've gotta do
Willander,
something. They've
DPD,
gotta do
Leckermacky. I don't know, man.
They have to
I
do
don't
something,
love
Harm.
the idea of like emptying the prospect cupboards for a Bo Horvat reunion.
That's fair. But they have to do
And
something.
I get what you mean. Like, and this is why management, to some extent, this has sort of been my take all along, is unless they can pull some unexpected rabbit out of a hat, they're kind of hooped. There's no silver bullet answer. And it's almost like a pick your poison, as far as there's going to be some part of a 2C acquisition that you don't like, whether it's the player's contract, whether it's his age, whether it's just production wise, him maybe not being the ideal 2C, maybe it's overpaying on the package you give up, but there's going to be something you don't love. And it's about picking the lesser evil when you're management and you're trying to find this top 6 center.
And here's the thing. People are seeing it and people are getting it in the chat as well. They're starting to understand the common denominator here. The Canucks are giving up good prospects that people like and people are excited about. That's the common denominator.
And wouldn't it be
here.
nice if they had sold Besser and Suter at the deadline, and now you can throw around some of those picks or prospects?
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been. Like, you have another second. You have another third. You have another. Hell, maybe you have another first. Maybe. Not necessarily, but maybe you have a couple seconds or a second and a third. That would have been really nice. Like, Carson Soucy got them a 3rd round pick.
Anthony Beauvillier went for a second.
Well,
Well, was it 2nd round pick, right?
Andrei Kuzmenko, too. Same thing. Like, come on. 3rd round pick for Kuzmenko. But yes, 2nd for Beauvillier. Now I'm just sad. Okay, let's get into some other trade proposals. Before anyone else, I want to tell everybody about the 100% electric Toyota BZ4X, which can handle any terrain and can take you from the city to the slopes. It's an SUV, I should have mentioned, and it's backed by the peace of mind that comes with knowing you're driving a Toyota. When you choose the BZ4X, you can get up to $6,500 in rebates and incentives, and now you can finance a 2025 BZ4X from 0.99% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. All right. Now let's get to anyone else, which is brought to you by the Vancouver Canadians. The home opener is tonight. First pitch is at 7:05, and what better way to open the season with a fireworks night? The Seas are home all week, and that includes a Friday nooner at the net. Get your weekend started early with first pitch at 1:05. The weekends with a White Spot Family Fun Sunday, an afternoon game where the kids get to run the bases post-game. For tickets, call 604-872-5232 or check out CanadiansBaseball.com. Okay, some trade proposals from the chat. This is good. From Scott, and I disagree. He said, "Thank God Quads isn't a GM. My God, those trade proposals are the Jim Benning, OEL, and Garland trade." Okay, maybe Scott's onto something. But I will say this. If you make the Garland and OEL trade because you're worried that Quinn Hughes might leave, then I have more time to defend it. The Canucks are just trying to make the playoffs. Like, this team is making these trades to get back to a level where they are, again, a team that's in the conversation to win the Stanley Cup and go deep into the playoffs. That's why they're making these trades and why these trade proposals are coming out. Those trades happened just to make the playoffs. And that's not what this is. This is to make yourself close to being a contending team, not just we want to be a really good wild card team. Like, that's what that trade was for, was to just make the playoffs. So I'm going to disagree a little bit. Do you agree?
I sort of get both sides.
Yeah, Scott might be onto something here.
Because in these proposals, it is a lot to give up, but I'd rather discuss something that's actually realistic as far as actually getting across the line in a trade, rather than going Hoglander, Mancini in a second for this really promising young second line center, right? Because that's just you're living in fantasy land. And the hard part is a lot of teams have center needs this summer. Just today, there was an interview Craig Conroy did with Pierre LeBrun where he said their biggest need is a right shot top six centerman.
Easy.
Right. Every team, I shouldn't say every team, but many teams are looking for this type of top six center. We all know the UFA market kind of sucks for center options besides Sam Bennett. So a lot of competitors, a lot of buyers, not a lot of great options on the trade market. It means that prices are going to be really, really high.
Let's get to some of these. Calvin99 Charlie in the chat said, I don't like bringing back players that are already here. It's like, or that were already here. It's like dating your ex again. Now we've got a few different ones to dive into here. This one. All right. I like this. This is from Paul Papadoulis, regular listener of the show, regular attender of the watch parties. He said this, Demko. There's a name we haven't heard yet. Okay. Do you see this one, Harm? Let's dive into this one. It's from Paul Papadoulis. It's in our chat here. Paul Papadoulis, Demko and Kudraytsev. There's a name we haven't brought up either. Again, made his NHL debut. We were talking about yesterday. How is there really a spot for Kudraytsev on this team down the road? We'll see. Demko and Kudraytsev for UPL and Norris, or Demko a pick and a prospect for Norris and Byram. I'm going to say for both of those, you're going to need to add. So let's just say it's Demko, Kudraytsev, and a first for UPL and Norris, or Demko, a first, a second, and a prospect for Norris and Byram.
The first one might be close on its own, to be totally honest with you.
Really?
Because
Without a first?
UPL's been the most disappointing player on the Sabres. Like goaltending has single-handedly cost the Sabres a lot. And I want to double check what kind of contract he's on, because I don't think it's pretty. Yeah, so he's got 1, 2, 3 more years left at a $4.75 million cap hit. UPL is probably a negative asset on that contract. So for the Sabres, they would immediately upgrade a net with Demko. Yes, there would be question marks and concerns with the injuries, but Demko's the higher pedigree goaltender. He's got a much higher ceiling. He also has much less risk on his contract because there's only one year left, and it's for basically the same cap hit. They get to plug arguably their biggest weakness right now. And yeah, giving up Norris, leave a big hole down the middle. But Norris is injury prone, and
I don't like this from the Canucks perspective.
I don't like this from the Canucks perspective.
Talking about it.
Yeah, so the Sabres would maybe consider it straight up.
Interesting. Okay.
But if I was the Canucks, I don't love the idea of taking on UPL's contract. And I don't like betting on Norris as your 2C because of the injury concerns.
Interesting. Okay, so maybe I'm off here. Good one, Paul. I like that. Okay, this one. We've got one for David Pasternak. All right,
Come on, let's stop this.
Oh, we're diving
They're
into
never
it.
going to trade Pasternak.
These are from the listeners. Harm. Yeah, they're not going to trade Pasternak. We're doing it anyway. I'll answer it. Willander, Lekkermacki, 2 firsts and a second, or Willander, Garland, 2 firsts and a third. Give me that second one. Second one gets it done. Easy.
Neither of them get it done.
All right. This one, EP40 for Kent Johnson straight up, or EP40, Willander, and a 2027 first for Kent Johnson and Matejchuk as well.
Yeah.
That was from Jay Kang. I should have said that. Thank you, Jay Kang, for the contribution.
I love Kent Johnson. He's had a breakout year. He's probably more of a winger than he is a center. He's super cheap too. The biggest advantage there from the Canucks perspective too would be it's not just you get a player with point per game potential for next year, but you gain almost $10 million in cap space because Johnson has 2 years left at a $1.8 million cap hit. And for that reason, I if you're Columbus, I just don't know why you would potentially take that contract risk on for EP40. Now, If they didn't have a future franchise center, then okay, I can understand it. But
Yeah.
Monahan's been fantastic this year. Fantilli's been, like, after a slow start in the first half, he's picked it up quite heavily in the second half. So I like the thought process behind this proposal, but I don't think Columbus would be, especially they're such a young team, they have time, they don't need to take the next step right away. I just don't see them maybe, being interested in something like that.
Jeffrey Wong. JJ Peterka. We're going back to Buffalo. I love that everyone wants to trade with Buffalo. It's worked for other teams. Why not try to trade with Buffalo? It seems like a good idea. For JJ Peterka, Lekkerimäki and Mancini, or Mancini, O'Connor, Höglander, and a 2026 third. I'm going to say it's going to take more to get JJ Peterka out of Buffalo. Okay, refine this a bit. Make it more realistic.
That's tough to do off the top of my head. I like the idea of targeting Peterka potentially if the Sabres make him available. There were rumors about his potential availability prior to the deadline. Just trying to think about what the Sabres would want. They would probably want Willander. Like, just thinking about it right away, because what that blue line really needs is they've been heavy on lefties, and they lack a sort of right shot top 4 future defensive defenseman.
Okay, I'll give you one then. Because Mancini's not cutting it.
Mancini and
Willander aren't in the same boat, okay? I'll give you one then, okay? JJ Peterka for Tom Willander and a first-round pick.
Okay,
does Buffalo even want picks at this point? Why would Buffalo want picks? If I were Buffalo, I would not be taking picks. It probably gets it done from a value perspective, and you might. I think you were about to say, yeah, maybe, but like, if I were Buffalo, like, stop trading for picks. Don't get picks. Go get good prospects. Go get ones that you've seen play and that you can trust, not guys that you're going to draft and be 3 years away and get to have their development just absolutely stunted by being in your system.
Yeah, but overall, I like the idea of, if Peterka's available, he's a fun, dynamic, speedy player. 26 goals and 66 points this year. He had 28 goals the year prior. I like him a lot.
All right, JJ Peterka. Put that down.
The tough thing though would be, and maybe it doesn't matter because you're just trying. You're of the mindset that doesn't matter whether it's a center or a winger, that you just need to add more dynamic offensive game breakers to this top 6 period. But the only thing you'd potentially have to be cautious about is if you're giving up a lucrative package for Willander, then what's left over as far as getting a second line center? Are you going to patchwork fill that? Is there even a free agent target that makes sense? Like, that would be a consideration for the Canucks as part of this conversation too.
Okay. But a super chat, and it's from SkyTraining Canuck Alfred, who, again, regular listener of the show, regular attender of the watch parties as well, who came in with the heater. We were waiting for it. Connor Bedard. Okay? Connor Bedard for Elias Pettersson, a first and a second, or Bedard for Lekkerimäki, a first and a third. Let's refine it. Let's refine it a bit. Thank you for the donation. We appreciate it, Alfred. We appreciate it. $5 donation to the BC Mental Health Foundation. Mark said in the chat, not going to happen. Chicago would want Quinn in any deal for Bedard. There's the real thing. Is we've talked about, okay, if Quinn doesn't want to sign long-term, the Canucks are probably going to have to pivot to trade him, right? So far down the line, I'm going to come out and say right now, that's probably your only realistic chance of getting Connor Bedard, is if Quinn Hughes says, yeah, I don't want to play here anymore. You're going to have to trade me. And there's no indication that that's going to happen. And I don't want to put words in the captain's mouth, because honestly, I'm starting to lean more towards Quinn's going to want to stay here long-term. Call me crazy, but I'm leaning more toward that if I were putting odds on it, the vibes odds, of course. But I will say that first of all. But to do the exercise, let's refine it a bit. You're gonna have to give up
a bit.
Yeah, you're gonna have to give up a couple more firsts in both of these. You're probably gonna have to throw in Willander. Like, okay, I'm gonna throw you one. Lekkerimäki, Willander, 2 firsts and a third for Connor Bedard. Might
not
get
happening.
Not happening. Like,
not
Chicago
happening.
Says no.
Yeah.
Chicago says no. Okay,
dude. Would you have traded Quinn Hughes after his sophomore year for a comparable package? Probably not.
Why are you?
Because you would
Why?
looked at this guy and gone, this is our franchise guy. Why would we trade him for like a mystery box package of quality picks and prospects?
Okay.
It's not
Was
realistic.
Quinn Hughes' sophomore season that bad? I don't
I'm
remember
just
ever.
talking about him as a sophomore the same way we're talking about Bedard as a sophomore.
Okay.
And yeah, his 2021 campaign, he struggled defensively. That was at
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay. Okay, so maybe no Bedard. Let's just try to have some fun. Is there anything else? Okay, this one from Adam Jones. Finish it on this one. Actually, I have my Horvat Barzell one. I'll get you in a
oh,
sec.
come on.
Oh,
dude.
stop, settle down. Adam Jones said this. Kent Johnson, Cole Sillinger, Kent Johnson and Cole Sillinger.
Yeah, trade for Kent Johnson and Cole Sillinger. Yeah.
For Pettersson, Ratu, and a 2026 first. Boom. Easy. Get it done. Or Pettersson, Hedel at 25% retained. Important addition from Adam there. And a 2026 first and third. Which one of these do you like more?
Thinking about it. See, the big X factor is I don't even know. It's hard to evaluate the EP40 related proposals because I don't know how teams rate EP40.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, because like some teams may look at him and go, "Oh, we believe he's going to bounce back as a 90-point guy," and would still rate him really highly.
Mm-hmm.
But then other teams may look at him and go, "We don't want to touch that contract, especially for a younger team." So it's really tough for me to rate these proposals when I don't know how the Blue Jackets value Elias Pettersson. I lean towards no, just because they're kind of set down the middle. They even have it's not just Fantilli that they have. They'll have Caden Lindstrom on the way at some point too. He was the 4th overall pick just last year. He's a centerman as well. His campaign this year was interrupted by injury, but they've kind of got their 2 studs down the middle with Fantilli and Lindstrom long term. They've got Monahan, who was really effective in the 1C position this year. Don't know if they make sense right now as an EP40 landing spot.
Final one from the chat. Brandon Ryan just threw this out. Mancini, Hedel, and our first round pick for JT Miller. Okay, I'm going to close out with mine. My Bo Horvat and Matt Barzell. In this scenario, you obviously can't re-sign Besser or Suter, but you're getting 2 great centers, okay? Your center depth gets so good with this trade. For both of those guys, Lekkerimäki, Elias Pettersson, a first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, and Connor Garland, because you need to make the money work, or Lekkerimäki, Elias Pettersson, 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and Connor Garland. Which one of those is more realistic? Can't say neither.
Geez. Probably the second one because it's more of an overpayment. It involves the 2 firsts, but
I would do that too. Like I would do that.
You would do that?
If the Canucks tweeted that first day of the offseason and said, yeah, we've acquired Bo Horvat and Matt Barzell for Jonathan Lekkerimäki, Elias Pettersson, 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick, and Connor Garland, I would be happy with that because it answers the question of like the real value of Garland, and I included him in there, yes, to make the money work, but also because Garland can drive his own line. So can Bo Horvat and so can Matt Barzell. Like those guys can drive their own line as centers. And I think you give up Garland, which hurts, obviously, but I think it kind of is offset because you're getting those 2 great centers back. I would absolutely do that second one. Lekkerimäki, Elias Pettersson, 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and Connor Garland. I would absolutely do that.
I probably wouldn't, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Like how much of an upgrade?
Horvat.
Because you have to remember too, you're giving up a good player in Garland. So Bo checks the positional need, but how much of an upgrade is Bo on Garland? Because on top of that, you're not just on top of that. You're paying
more
Lekkerimäki, DPD, 2 first-round picks and a second, right? You're not purely accumulating. You're also subtracting one of your better 5-on-5 forwards in Garland. No, I don't love that. Especially those 2 first-round picks. Who do we actually know the Canucks are going to be good next year? Like I think they'll bounce back, but we don't know that.
If they get Barzell and Horvat, they will be.
You never know, man. As this season quite literally proved.
Fair enough. All right, let's get to our bet 365 bet. Of the
I
day.
feel bad. I feel bad poo-pooing on all these ideas.
Well, I think the segment. I thought I had fun. I had a lot.
It was
of
fun. It was fun.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think
good.
the biggest takeaway is I really don't envy Alvin and Rutherford in this situation.
Yeah, they could call me in whenever they want. I'd go in. Okay, we need some trade proposals. All right, here you go. I wrote all these down in a Google Doc. These are free, by the way. You can just have these. Okay, let's get to our bet 365 bet of the day. The Oilers played last night, so I'm not taking them. I was gonna do a playoff bet, but we're not doing that yet. We're not doing that just yet. Actually, should we? The Oilers are favored to beat the Kings in the first round of the playoffs. Do you like that or no?
Honestly, I think this is going to be a really close series. I think it's a toss-up.
Okay.
With Ekholm out for round 1.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We won't do that one. We won't do that one just yet. Do we though?
Some of these first round matchups are going to be really hard to predict.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one's going to be really close. Colorado, Dallas is going to be really close. Tampa, Florida is going to be really close. Got a lot of toss-ups.
Okay, I'm going to do this one. And write it down, Jacob. Write it down. Okay. I'm going to take LA Kings to win the series from behind. So they're going to go down by a game and win the series from behind. You can get that at plus 375 odds.
Damn.
at
Okay.
Bet365.
Okay.
I like that bet. I'm taking it. LA Kings to win the series from behind plus 375. Taking it.
I actually really like that bet too, Quads. A lot of your bets are kind of all over the place, not well thought out, just on a whim. But this is actually really good value, I think, for that bet.
I adore that you think that wasn't on a whim, but I'll take it. Thank you. Plus 375, you get that over at Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner, every face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use the code NATION to get in on the game. Must be 90 plus play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. Quickly, no show Thursday. There's going to be media avails and stuff that we have to take care of, but we are doing a weekend show on Saturday. Actually, Harman, we kind of signed you up for this without talking to you. Are you available Saturday? Because I said I would. Okay, great. Harman's doing the show Saturday. We had a really good laugh about it yesterday because I announced it and I was like, wait, did Harman agree to this yet? But anyways, so Harman and I will be back on Saturday. Friday as well. We will be back tomorrow, but the reason I'm bringing this up is tomorrow we're going to play Family Feud. So Jacob, how many responses do we need?
Coming into the show, we only had 50, so we need to double our Family Feud responses.
Get those Family Feud responses in. Link is in the show description if you're on YouTube or on podcast. Make sure you fill out the survey so we can play Family Feud tomorrow. But we will close it out there for my co-host Harman Dial and our technical producer Jake Giant Baby and our technical producer Jacob Lazar. My name is Dave Wujelli. Thanks so much for this episode of Canucks Conversation.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.